Tight end U. It's been a moniker that's been a part of Iowa football for a long time, but is Iowa football moving away from that tradition with tight ends? Enter Tim Lester, one of the program's proudest traditions. On the chopping block today, Locked On Hawkeye.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. I've been covering the Hawkeyes for over 20 years on the radio here in the state of Iowa, including currently on the Iowa Sports Radio Network with stations in Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, the Quad City, Sioux City, and our flagship station, 106.3 KXNO in Des Moines. You can hear me talking the world of sports each weekday, including the Hawkeyes from noon to 2 with Ken Miller. Today's episode of Locked On Hawkeyes is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Well, we got baseball talk as Iowa will finish off the regular season with Oregon coming your way a little bit later on. What Iowa needs to do to position themselves, not just for the regular season title, but more importantly, for an NCAA tournament berth. We'll get into that a little bit later on. John Boenkamp is going to stop by. We'll talk some college hoops with him. We'll talk a little football and some baseball as well. John Boenkamp going to join us, the Associated Press writer on the Iowa Hawkeye beat. But we begin today with our continued coverage as we put a cap on spring football and take one final deep dive into each of the positions. Now, we will reevaluate things here coming up again in another month. When we get into June, we'll be diving back into things. Freshmen will be arriving onto campus. And one of the positions that we just haven't talked about a ton is the tight end position. I don't know, for a lot of people, you kind of group them together a lot of times with the wide receiver position, but that's not been the case at Iowa. And as we look at this position and what it is, tight end U for Iowa, the success of the guys at the next level year after year, you're a starter, even play tight end for Iowa, even not as a starter, you're going to get an opportunity at the next level. And we've seen so much high-end talent at the tight end position. But it got me thinking, as we look at this season and what Iowa has coming back, and really the gears started turning a little bit for me, very frankly, and very simply with this. There aren't a whole lot of tight ends on this roster. Now, I know they are bringing in two this year. Two freshmen will arrive on campus, and that will change things a little bit. But when you see a program that for so many years had 6, 7, 8 scholarship tight ends, and that's not the case right now, I think that was the first part of that got me wondering a little bit. Tim Lester, we hear what he is doing with the offense. We go back to spring football and all the great things that we heard about the passing game. But so much of that conversation was the wide receiver position and what we saw from Reese Vanderzee and Seth Anderson and Jacob Gill and the young guys like KJ Parker and Sam Phillips coming in and adding the speed, Jarrett Bowie. Those were the guys that we were talking about. But the tight end position wasn't. And it's not because there's a lack of options. Again, depth isn't there, and just 5 guys are listed at the tight end position. The 2 guys that you know, Addison Estringa, who goes into his final season, I think, for a chance at a breakout year. And you go back to 2 years ago in that wretched, just absolutely putrid offense, he caught 31 balls that year. Now, the problem, and it's still baffling to even think, Addison Estringa, two years ago, 2023, 31 catches for 192 yards. That is 6.2 yards per reception. Hideous. Last year, 15 catches, 114 yards. A part of that was, of course, the return of Luke Lachey. Lachey was the guy that led the team in receiving out of the tight end position a year ago with 28 catches for 231. But with Estringa back, Zach Ortworth, who we continue to see have those moments, those are 2 pretty good options to start up with. You got the H-back role with Hayden Large. He's back for another season. Michael Burt, youngster, redshirt freshman out of Omaha. And then a walk-on that there's a lot of talk about, DJ Vadame from Carroll Kemper, and the possibility that maybe down the line he could be a guy that's going to help out. Estringa, Ortworth, great starting point. But what I want to see this year, and if this wide receiver room really does pop, and if we see a passing game, is just how involved the tight end position is. Is it going to become more of we're seeing a lot more single tight ends? Is that the formation that is going to come back in vogue? And the 2 and at times 3 tight end sets that we saw so many times under the previous offensive coordinator, if that is going away completely, and we are going to see, yeah, you're going to have a tight end on the field. And to run the football like Iowa wants to, you're going to have plenty of 2 tight end sets, but it's not going to be something where you see 50% of the time or even 40% of the time where there's 2 tight ends out there because of the depth, again, that they have at wide receiver. If that pops and we're able to see it, and there's a number of guys that are able to go out there and make plays, that very well could change the way that we look at the tight end position, certainly in the here and now for Iowa football. What other avenue that I'm interested in at the tight end position? I mentioned coming up this season, the 2 incoming players at the tight end position. So you start Eli Johnson, redshirt candidate, big kid, 6'6", 230. Going to have to get a little faster. He's going to be your prototypical blocking tight end is what Eli Johnson's looked at. Now, another guy is Mason Woods and what they do with him. Some people like him as a tight end. Other people think that wide receiver is where he should start. Maybe he's too big. Defensive back. A lot of different things. He was recruited as an athlete. But finally, the one that I think a lot of people know and are excited about is Thomas Meyer. And we've seen true freshmen that have been able to show up and play, at least be part of the reps. I'm not talking about a starting role, right? Anything like that for Meyer. But you start with his offer list. And when you have Nebraska and Stanford and Texas A&M and Miami showing up in Clear Lake, that gets your attention. We know Iowa can evaluate the tight end position. We know Iowa can find guys. Watching him play basketball, his athleticism really pops there. Obviously, seeing his highlight video that you watch on the football field, it's definitely going to pop on that one. The athleticism, a lot of people look at him maybe a bit like a TJ Hawkinson, who was an oversized wide receiver out there at Sheridan back in the day for them. And maybe that's what you're going to get out of Thomas Meyer. We'll see. But something just to put in the back of your mind is you look at those top 2, really good shape there. And it very well could be Meyer's just playing in 4 games, right? Able to get the reps, able to go out there, be on the road. You're going to maintain that redshirt season and go that direction. That could be something, but one to put there at the tight end position. I don't think it's being de-emphasized. I don't think that's the correct terminology. It's just going to be used differently. And that's okay because the passing game, we love being tight end you. I get it. Like to have something where I was known for in the NFL. But if it changed and actually we have, I don't know, a competent passing game, something that is interesting, intriguing, and you can go out there and beat some teams in a different way than just beating them, bludgeoning them over the head defensively. You can actually win a game or 2 against good teams with some offense. I think most of us would sign up for that. Signing up, talk to John Boenkamp from the Associated Press. He's going to join us next. We're going to get a potpourri of talk, including Iowa baseball, just how bad it is. Plus, we're going to talk college basketball and some rule changes being implemented for college basketball. Doesn't make sense. We'll talk about that with John Boenkamp as we continue. This is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast, your team every day. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the games before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. 2 nights ago for me, it was Anthony Edwards going off in the third quarter of that game, hit the big shot before halftime, and a huge third quarter as the Timberwolves made a 3-1 lead on that one. As a T-Wolves fan, I absolutely love watching that, and now you can do it for yourself. A $200 bonus in bets add to the excitement if your first $5 bet hits. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Just head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets with FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
2 o'clock. John Boenkamp, Associated Press, IowaCollegeHoops.com, et cetera, for John, and he joins us. Hello, John Boenkamp. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing pretty well. Disappointing weekend for the Hawk baseball team who was downtown Des Moines. Lost the first two and a draw. Yeah, tie at the end of it is they had to make a flight, which is crazy, but that's minor. It happens at AAA too, so it's not like this is the first time it's happened, as you well know. But disappointing, I would have to say, is how the weekend turned. Now, again, they packed the place. There was over 7,000, I think, most of the weekend each day, so that worked out well, but the success on the field wasn't there, John.
No, and I mean, they really needed to get one. I mean, to help their NCAA tournament hopes and maybe, and, even win the series would have been a big step for them. But, now it is, you've got to win this weekend to win the Big Ten, regular season title, and you got to go to Omaha and you've got to play well over there. And so, I mean, it was a chance, it was an opportunity missed, I think, more than anything else. You had a chance to get a couple of signature wins and they didn't do it. And so that really makes this weekend very, very important.
Well, and I think a lot of Hawkeye fans maybe seeing the team for the first time or starting to follow here the last few weeks, see that gap. Yeah, Iowa's having a great season, and they still very well could win the regular season crown. But that gap between those top 10, 15 type teams and what Iowa is, and a really nice season for them, that gap is significant, John.
Yeah, oh yeah. And I mean, and that's, that's the way college baseball is, and I mean, when you think about it, I mean, the vast majority of your teams are the really, really good teams in college baseball are down south and, and on the West Coast. And so, Big Ten teams, I mean, there's a relative good to it. I think is the way you put it is they're really good for the Big Ten nationally. That's kind of a different story, I think. So, this would have been a weekend to really make a statement in my mind, and they didn't do it.
John, you obviously followed baseball for a long time down in Burlington with the Bees. You talked to a lot of people inside baseball. The divide between the Southern teams and what we have up here, would pushing the season back, would that help? Would it be anything significant?
When, Trent?
Even a month.
Like a month?
Yeah, push it back a month. Is that something? I know it'd help a little bit, but is it even worth the time? Is it even worth doing it? Because still in the grand scheme of things, down there, they can play 365. That's never happening up here.
Right. But as and I was talking about that with somebody this winter, and we were talking about, would it help the northern teams? Absolutely. But the southern teams, now all of a sudden you're playing in June, in Louisiana, in Alabama, where it's going to be 100 degrees.
Yes.
So they may not want to make that trade-off. They're the ones that in late February. Yeah, in late February, they're getting 10,000 people. They don't care what goes on up north.
No.
In LSU's mind, they don't care what's going on at Michigan. They don't care what's going on in Iowa. They're going to do their thing. And I mean, those Southern teams and the West Coast teams run the game. I mean, when you really think about it, they're the power brokers. Like the Big Ten and SEC are in college football. That's what they are in college baseball. And so I don't see it changing anytime soon. As much as the northern schools would like to see it change, I just don't see it happen.
Speaking of change might be coming to men's college basketball, John, with a challenge system, which each coach would get one challenge. You know how it works. If you win it, you keep it. You lose the timeout. If not, if you lose your challenge and it's not overturned, you don't get another one. Overdue, will it happen? Does it make too much sense for it to happen?
I was trying to just kind of picture the logistics of it in my head. Are you going to have somebody there, on the sidelines watching, the replay and saying, "Hey, challenge this," like they do in Major League Baseball. It's one of those things. I think it would be. I don't know how it would work, and that's funny because I'll be honest. Right now, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It is a
challenge coach. I'm glad you brought that up. Never entered my mind.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, and there's going to be, officials right now are relying too much on this play, and I think that's a problem. And so I don't know what the solution is, but I don't think this is it. And, so there's some other things I think they need to worry about, but at the same time, I do think the officials have gotten way too reliant on replay.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? You're going to miss some calls. You're going to miss calls. You're going to miss ball strike calls in baseball. You're going to miss holding calls in football. You're going to miss them. It happens. It's just a matter of when they happen. I think sometimes that, and so that becomes, as a coach, do you burn one early in the game when you think it might affect momentum? You burn a challenge, or save it for late in the game. Who knows? So it would just put a lot of different things in the game, and I don't know how it would work.
Speaking of basketball, as we still await for Emily Rodriguez visiting the women's program, the men's side kind of slowed down a little bit. Is it just at this point they don't have the roster full? Is it finances? Is it one side waiting for that check and the other side saying we're out of money? Why have we suddenly seen this portal just kind of screech to a halt and there just hasn't been a whole lot of activity, even though there's a ton of kids out there still searching for homes?
Oh, there's a lot of kids out there. And that's why, when we talked about this the last time, I said, there's going to be, you have to kind of do some bargain hunting at this point, because I do think the money isn't there. Now you've spent your money. Both teams have, really, in my mind. You've spent your NMO. So now you don't know what the house settlement's going to be. You don't know where that's going. I think maybe you're waiting to kind of see that so you can go to a player and say, hey, this is what you're going to get. I don't know. But like I said, it really has slowed down nationwide. It's not just it's not just an Iowa thing. It's a nationwide thing. You really start seeing, because I do think a lot of people right now are at the end of their money when you think about it. Mm-hmm. So there might be some guys that you're going to have to go get and say, hey, look, we'll take care of you. You're just going to have to find that guy that really wants to come there and doesn't mind that he's only going to get X number of dollars. Yeah. And those guys are going to be kind of hard to find, I think.
John, as we bounce around with a lot of different topics here, sure. I find it hard to believe that that you would have been out and about making your rounds, whatever you're doing, that in the last few years, people would want to talk Hawkeye offense when it comes to football in the offseason. I mean, that just hasn't been there, right?
Right.
But this year...
Well, in a negative way.
Well, sure. Yeah. There was always that. But from an optimism standpoint, is it... and I'm guessing it's the same in the East. Maybe it's even more overblown out there. I sense there's a great deal of optimism when it comes to the offense that Tim Lester is going to have to work with this year.
Well, I think there is, but I also think, too, there is that, okay, we're still not quite sure because it is Iowa. It is Kirk Ferentz. Yeah. But I don't think a lot of people realize how good Mark Gronowski really is. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I know of him, at his time at South Dakota State. I know what he can do. Now, how's that going to translate to this level? I think it's going to translate just fine. So I'm more optimistic maybe than some people are because I know what he can do. And I truly think this is probably one of their best quarterback options in a long time. Mm-hmm. And so I do think once people realize and really break down what he's done numbers-wise, resume-wise, they'll realize that this is probably going to be a pretty good offense. I mean, obviously everybody's going to have to stay healthy, but it's still a pretty good offense, I think.
If they're going to have a special season, they're going to have to win a game 31-28 and 27-20. They can't. 14, 13 games just don't work that often. I think they've squeezed all the toothpaste out of the tube that they can. Is the offense at that level that they can go out there and they get in a shootout and they can win at 37-34? Are we at that level?
Quarterback, Trent?
Yeah, I do. I think you can win games that are in the high 20s and low 30s. I don't think you're going to have 44-41 or something like that because I think Iowa's defense is still pretty good. I think you can get to that level because I think you're really good at running back, even though you lost, one of your best running backs you've had in a long time. You're still pretty good at that spot. You're going to be always good up front. Your receiver group is probably the best it's been in a while, and you've got a quarterback who's won national title. I think you're in pretty good shape to where you can put up some points.
Yeah, I agree. Did you see Kyle Tucker's? The Dodgers are going to be involved with Kyle Tucker.
Of course. I mean, I said that the other night to Alex Cohen when he was talking about comparing Tucker's number to Ohtani. And I said, we'll wait till next year when they're teammates.
Oh,
so, anyway, I mean, because there's going to be a lot of money coming off the books, and you are going to need a right fielder. Just saying.
Who comes off the books next year? Do you know off the top of your head?
Not right off the top of my head, but I mean, there is going to be obviously some changes here and there. I mean, I don't know if Max Muncy returns. I don't know. They've got the money. They're fine.
Yeah.
So,
Freddie Freeman's fine.
And yeah, I was going to say he's your MVP right now.
It's unbelievable.
So,
yeah.
I mean, on a surgically repaired ankle.
Right.
So like I said, look at their record right now, and again, I've said this.
They haven't played well.
They still haven't played their best baseball yet. So, and Kershaw's coming back. They'll be fine.
That's John Boenkamp, our resident Dodger fan here in the state of Iowa, and of course covering the Iowa Hawkeyes on the beat with the Associated Press. Great stuff as always from John Boenkamp. Always appreciate our conversation talking all things Hawkeyes and those expectations for that football team. It'll be interesting to see how this offseason is. Fringe top 25 team from some national people out there. The difficult nature of the schedule, what that's going to look like. But the buzz continues to grow for Iowa football. Mark Gronowski, as we continue our look around that. As we come back here, Locked On Hawkeyes, a little baseball talk to wrap things up. What does Iowa got to do to solidify not the regular season crown? The math is very simple for that. To win a Big Ten regular season championship for the first time since 1990, that's easy. What's it going to take to solidify themselves as an NCAA tournament team? Plus, the structure of the Big Ten baseball tournament, it's kind of baffling. We come back, Locked On Hawkeyes. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, we have it all now in one place with my family. We use Monarch to check our finances, track our spending, and even make long-term plans and goals. Maybe set up that vacation for you and your family. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. As a small business owner, we got money all over the place trying to figure out what goes where. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. That sounds really, really good. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com. It'll get you 50% off your first year. That's Monarch Money with the code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. monarchmoney.com. Welcome back. This is Locked On Hawkeyes. I'm Trent Condon. Thanks for being with us. And a shout out to our everydayers who are with us each and every day. Couldn't do it without you. Appreciate all of you. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit subscribe. Just takes a moment, and it does help us immensely get in front of more Hawkeye fans. If you are somebody that just listens to the audio side of things, 5-star reviews, that's what we're looking for. And definitely that is a big help. So Iowa goes into the final week of the regular season with the lead in baseball in the Big Ten crown. And we can look at the merits of what they've actually accomplished. We can take a look at this program and you look at how difficult the Big Ten slate was. And there are other teams that have played a more difficult Big Ten schedule. That's the reality, but that's okay. To do something you haven't done since 1990, to do it in year number 1 of the additions of UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Washington, I think that says a lot. And it says a lot about what Coach Heller does with this program every single year. It's absolutely incredible what he's been able to do. So what's it going to take for Iowa to really feel to be in great shape going into the Big Ten tournament, to be an NCAA tournament team? I saw 2 more projections here today. Both of them had Iowa in the NCAA tournament, but also had them amongst the first 4 in. I mean, very simply, you sweep this series. You win an outright Big Ten championship, even if you lose 2 games in Omaha at the Big Ten tournament. I think it's going to be incredibly difficult for the committee at a Big Ten that in baseball is not elite, but it's still very solid, to leave them out. I I have a difficult time wrapping my mind around that is going to be something that's going to happen. Still could. And, we go back to last week in the softball team and one bad loss against Penn State. Now, that's a single elimination tournament. But that one game very well could be the deciding factor. You look at the number of teams that Iowa finished ahead in the standings, and not just ahead, but clear by multiple games in the standings. Teams that they beat during the regular season that got tournament bids. And it leaves you a little bit concerned, and that's for Iowa. Win this series with a sweep, I think you're in. Win the series, you're in great shape. And on top of it, this is going to be a huge boost to their RPI. Iowa just hasn't had many opportunities to play teams that are quad one. They're 3-2-1 right now in quad one games. And that's going to be another aspect of it. Coming up tomorrow on the program, Kyle Huseman from Hawkeye Report, who is on the Iowa baseball beat. He's going to join us. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into all of this. But one final thing. If you haven't yet, take a look at the structure for the Big Ten tournament. So if Iowa earns the number 1 seed, they'll be in a pool. They're going to do pool play. 4 pools of 3 teams, as we will have 12 teams that'll qualify. So Iowa will be in the pool as a number 1 seed with the 8 seed and the 12 seed that qualify. Your 2 seed, you get the 7 and 11. 3 seed, 6 and 10, and the 4 seed, the 5 and 9. So that's the structure of it. And the winner of each of the pools then move on to the semifinals. So you'll play 2 games. And in this exercise, just for argument's sake, let's say that Iowa earns that number 1 seed. So they'd play on May 22nd and the 23rd, both those games at 6 o'clock. And then if they win their pool, they move on to the semifinals. Single elimination tournament, then after that, as the 4 teams that win the pool. But the one interesting aspect is, look, I'm in there right now. I'm in the midst of it. USSSA softball with my daughter's 10U team as the coach, and it comes down to run differential, runs allowed. Those are the tiebreakers. Not the case here. If we have an instance where we have the 3 teams that tie, everybody beats everybody, you go 1-1, it's not going to come down to run differential. It's not going to come down to how many runs you allowed. No, instead, it's going to come down to this. Who is the better seed coming into it? So it gives ammunition and a little bit more power to what you did in the regular season. In Iowa's instance, this is great. You're very happy about that. We'll see how this plays out, how it works, but before that, the big series against Oregon. And again, Kyle Huseman's going to join us. Thanks for joining us here today on Locked On Hawkeyes. I am Trent Condon. This is what we do on the Locked On Network, your team every day. I got you covered on the Hawkeye front, your favorite NFL team, MLB, NHL, NBA, all here on the Locked On Network. Not only that, we got a whole lot more. We got the portal with Brian as talking all things recruiting in the portal. And he's got you covered on that front. Locked On College Football, Locked On College Basketball, Locked On NFL, our big national shows, all here, all under one umbrella on Locked On. And glad to have you aboard with us on the Locked On Hawkeyes front. Thanks for being with us as always. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Until then, go Hawks.